Oh yeah, there's this new Superman cartoon. Just, I've seen a couple of the episodes. Just, I look, I'm busy with an awful lot of stuff, and it's difficult to get it all in. But I was not optimistic about it at all. Uh, and some aspects of it is exactly what I expected, and others not so much. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but then again, that's I don't know, the equation, if you will. If your expectations are really low, then he's like, well, not that bad. I've seen 4 or 3 episodes. I can't remember. Again, busy, haven't kept up with it. And I wait for them. I don't watch Adult Swim anymore. So when they come on Max, then I'll check them out there. But the first 2 episodes weren't too bad. There were some interesting aspects. Of course, it's anime Superman is about as close as you're going to get to it. Has all the expectations of anime, and I'm not a big fan of anime. I respect its position, and I think a lot of that owes to when you leave a void, somebody fills it, and so that it's a huge genre and style that appeals to a great many people. It's like Akira was really cool, and I saw it, and for its time, that's an amazing achievement. Look-wise, story-wise, I wasn't really blown away by it. Some of Ghost in the Shell I liked. I'd tune into that from time to time. My favorite is that silly little Kiki's Delivery Service movie. It's just a simple little fairy tale-like story, and I can't even remember why I watched it, but I ended up watching it. I was like, you know what? This isn't that bad. But I just never delved into anime overall. It just doesn't grasp me. A certain generation it does, and maybe that's part of the aspects of it as well. Although I gotta say, I mean, like Akira, that's my teen years, and a lot of the people are just heavily into it after that and stuff. I don't know, but for whatever reason, didn't really grab a hold of me. So I could do without anime Superman, but you get anime Superman. So it's an interesting exercise. I just don't like something taking the space of something else that could be so much better. But this is what you get. How bad could it be? Well, so far of the episodes I've seen, not much. I'm not crazy about some of they've redesigned all the villains and whatnot. They're very different. I guess that's just again, to an anime appeal and throwing in some elements of cyberpunk type decoration, if you will, because they're connecting everything, and that's not new either. I mean, in a way, the 90s Superman did with Brainiac. They connected him to Krypton instead of the original story, and it worked. It was a clever take on it, and had a lot of interesting and personal interactions between Superman and Brainiac and all that. Whereas here they've got Intergang in there, and so now you've got these different weapons, which are leading to people gaining their abilities and whatnot. So they did one where they redid Parasite, and it's Dr. Ivo becoming Parasite, and that one was really bad. I thought it was just a bit over the top and way too far for this guy who was this BS industrial or tycoon, what have you, and lost his mind, and that he's on the edge of losing his company and that sort of thing. But I don't think there was enough groundwork there for him to. I mean, he was going to just kill all these people and everything to demonstrate his new product of Parasite. I mean, first of all, you're going to name your product Parasite. Oh, I can't wait to get a Parasite. But of course, the idea would be you would be the Parasite, I suppose. The other thing with like a Silver Banshee, and it's one of the devices, it's a helmet that gives her sonic scream and all that sort of stuff. And so, they're reinventing the characters, except Superman is still pretty much Superman. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, when you redo them so much, but other things aren't, it's like, what are you doing? Well, the brand name. Well, then maybe you should just do Superman. You know, there's always going to be some tweaks here and there of changes in stories, and to make it flow in a narrative telling of your TV series and what have you. But this far afield of it, I don't know. But also to differentiate it from the '90s show, which pretty much did it, you know, and then they changed things around too. Like I said, Brainiac, most notably, but not so far afield that it gets to be removed from the original thing. But that's, you know, I don't know, and it maybe it'll take on a life of its own. I doubt it. I don't think there's enough there. The interesting things about it is the original story is Lois Lane is immediately infatuated with Superman. Clark Kent, she doesn't have the time of day for, doesn't even notice him, and that's always been the case. Eventually she does, and then of course begins to suspect, you know, hey, there's something familiar about him. Whereas here, she's interested and wants to get the story and everything about Superman who suddenly appears and all that. But she's not attracted to him, and she's actually getting irritated with him because he won't give her the story and this sort of thing. All the while, she's already, almost at first sight, has a crush on Clark, and the feeling's mutual and everything like that. So it's different, but it's also interesting because ultimately they're destined to be together. So that's that. So, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But that's how they play it. And it's very much in the anime style. You know, they blush all the time and make those faces and everything. There was some concern when the show was about to debut. There was some brief footage tweeted and whatnot that looked a lot like the Sailor Moon transformation scene. And I gotta say, oh my God, that's terrible. But that's not what it was. I mean, it is when he discovers his Kryptonian heritage, and this is another way they do it. That at first he doesn't know, and then they discover he comes in contact with the old ship, and there's the stuff that Jor-El left for him to understand, and you know, to find out who he is and all that, and it dresses him up in the suit and stuff like that. So that's essentially what it was. There were other times though where they would just show early on that the S symbol appears on his chest and glows while he's charging up his powers, I guess. I don't know why they did that. And then he only just discovered his heat vision. Stuff like that, because he's very new at this. There was an odd thing about it where they've kept it to where he can't really communicate with this digital version of Jor-El because he can't speak the Krypton language. But I would have thought they'd have had something where, you know, he comes into contact with Jor-El, and then the computer can understand, you know, telepathically his language, and then it translates it so he could hear what he has to say. But they didn't do that, at least the ones I've seen. So I don't know. I mean, his brain's faster than the rest of us, so perhaps he can learn the language and understand Jor-El as he's speaking to him and all that. But other than that, you know, the action scenes are okay. There were a lot of elements I expected, didn't get. As far as I know, the race-swapped Jimmy Olsen is not gay. People were suggesting there was going to be like a three-way or a love triangle between. But, you know, I don't know. It doesn't look like it. And then Perry White's race-swapped again, and that sort of thing. But other than that, it's a silly Superman take, but I was surprised that Lois Lane isn't really, you know, kicking Clark in the balls. And I mean, they've reversed it to where she's more into Clark than she is Superman. Although the last episode I saw, she's beginning to realize he's Superman, you know. And I don't know if they'll go back to the old classic bits of Superman having to trick her into realizing, no, that's ridiculous. He's like, oh, okay. Which over the years, you know, eventually when they do get together, he's like, you know, that's really sinister that you played all those mind tricks with me. It's all in good fun. Yeah, well, but anyway, that's about it. Perhaps I'll finish it up and do a review of its overall at some point. But as far as episode by episode, it just doesn't warrant my interest enough for that. You might like it. You might like the silly cartoons and stuff. And if you're an anime fan, maybe that appeals to you as well. But as far as it being overwhelmingly woke and that sort of thing, no, you really gotta go further than that. And it's just kind of a silly cartoon. I've seen worse attempts at this, and so I'm just sort of neutral on it at this point. So there you go. My adventures with Superman. Not mine. That would be Lois. Although, again, she'd rather have adventures with Clark. But, oh boy, is she going to find out something. Anyway, there you go.